It's 5:30, so we'll call to order this meeting for Monday, August 7th. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Foberg.
Present.
Liebelt.
Present.
Reif.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First things first, let's approve this meeting's agenda as printed and presented. I don't believe I've heard anything to change what we've been presented with, so I would take a motion to approve as printed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilwoman Foberg. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we'll have approval of minutes for the previous meeting, which was held on July 24th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt, second from Councilman Norvstrup. Does anyone have anything to add or amend within those minutes before we vote? All right then, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. Motion carries. We've got two people here to speak on behalf of various topics for our open forum here tonight. The first one is Alexa Sheldon, who's the director of the Downtown Association. Alexa, welcome. Good to see you again. Make sure that the little green light is on and give yourself a couple of minutes to let you know what you've got going.
Great, thank you. It's great to see you again. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to say a few words to kick off this meeting. As you know, the Downtown Association has been advocating for the two-way main conversion for quite some time now. Recently, a handful of local property owners and business owners approached the Downtown Association inquiring about what we have done to make sure the two-way main conversion happens for 2024. We have been researching, educating, and learning, but we have been passive in the urgency of our delivery of this information. It is our responsibility and part of our mission as an organization to advocate for what will improve the economic landscape for our businesses downtown. Business and property owner Troy McQuillan put it eloquently when he penned the Aberdeen Insider article titled, "Maine should have never been a one-way." When multiple members of Aberdeen's largest investment groups have been speaking out, approaching us, and pleading that we work together to make this happen, we will listen. The urgency to push this project forward for 2024 deserves to be recognized, especially for our small businesses and property owners downtown. They need and deserve more traffic, higher property value, and return on their sizable investments they have put into our city. There are more businesses being built as we speak, so the time is now to show these new businesses and any future businesses that Aberdeen is the place to be, and we as a city will support them. Local business owner and investor in downtown Aberdeen, Jim Thayers, is one of those stakeholders who has poured time and investment into downtown Aberdeen. Jim owns the Alonzo Ward Hotel and Plaza, parking ramp, the Van Slyke Block, and the Baird Block, also known as the Arts Camera Building. I'm going to hand over the stage to Jim now so he can share his perspective and why properties and businesses need this conversion for 2024.
Thanks, Alexa. Jim, welcome. Good to see you here.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council and staff, and you too, Ron. Jim Thayers, Aberdeen, and thanks, Alexa, but you all know me as I'm a long-term resident business owner here in Aberdeen, and I've also made a significant investment in our downtown, and I truly believe that if we're going to grow in Northeast South Dakota, and especially as a community, you know, it starts here in Aberdeen, and part of that is having a vibrant downtown. I was old enough to remember the 60s and 70s and the two-way traffic and the sales and the crazy days that come down, and you know how that was. And then, you know, as times changed, right, the movement was made to the shopping malls and shopping centers, and that transitioned and really hurt our downtown. And you know, thankfully to the folks at Dakota Bank and Rhodes Anderson and others that chose to stay downtown and at least keep us alive down there. And as time has passed with you know, Tom Amma and his group and the different ones that have invested there, and But today, you know, I feel for Aberdeen to move forward, we need to move back to the two-way Main Street. We're the last. If you look at Watertown and Sioux Falls and Rapid, they all have done this already. And to create the best opportunity for our retail people and to create a vibrant community downtown, I truly believe two-way traffic is needed. Now, that certainly comes with a cost. And, you know, anytime we expect a return, it requires an investment. And I guess that's what I'm asking here of the city today. I and many others are making significant investments in our Main Street. I'm doing it not for this massive financial gain, but because I believe in this community, and I believe that a vibrant downtown is important for us to move forward and to grow. We've got a great community. We have got great hospital systems and school systems, but we need to take pride in our Main Street. Drive down there and, you know, weeds are growing in the sidewalks and in the curbs, and our trees have dead branches and haven't been trimmed. We need to do better, and I think this is the start of that. It's time for that. We have a lot of folks in here that are supporting that have invested in this and will continue to invest in this. And so as you set your budgets and work on your plans, I would ask that you truly consider making this back to a two-way Main Street and to find the way to invest the money to do what it takes to make these improvements. I know the Downtown Association has done a lot of study and a lot of work. There's grant opportunities and things that we're all willing to help. We all need to be partners in this. You know, we're all working together to make us a better community, and to me, this is part of that. So, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks once again, Alexa. I appreciate your input on both of those things. As you well know, our initial budget message will occur tonight, and there will be some back and forth before we take any kind of votes on those types of things. But this isn't usually an opportunity to respond to these particular items brought forward in our open forum, but I think that the timing was right, and hopefully we'll have a bit of a discussion on that as the days go forward. So thanks to both of you. Next item to be discussed here tonight is our consent calendar, where we've got 7 items of routine city business, including lottery notice, licenses, requests for street use permits, setting a bid date and a hearing date, as well as, well, I guess a handful of hearing dates. So if anyone would be so kind as to make a motion on that item, we could vote to approve our consent calendar.
So moved.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Is there any discussion to be had amongst the council as it relates to any of these consent calendar items? All right, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. We'll kick things off in our new business segment with our city manager's 2024 budget message. Joe, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to kind of start off a little bit of recap of where we are. Tonight, the council members found in front of them budget books for both the capital outlay, the 5-year plan, and the 2024 operating budget proposal. Tonight, I will just brief you on how we got to the proposal, and then next week during the work session, we'll dig into it after you've had a little more time to review. But there's kind of 2 pieces to the budget message. The first one that's in the book, kind of a written out plan, that's put together about a month before the final numbers are, and then we'll talk about kind of where the final numbers were. So one of the things we've talked about as I opened my budget is the last few years our revenues have just been erratic and very difficult to predict. They've been moving up, which has been good. We saw expenses trend up quite a bit in 2023, and with those two kind of crashing together here mid-year, we're seeing our revenues start to slow. In particular, our sales tax revenues. We're watching that really close right now. It looks like it's about 1.5% to 2% behind projections, and that's the important part. We're going to watch that a little more, and as we go through this process, we'll talk about that. But it's really difficult when you go into a budget and you're looking at that. So that was one of the things we faced. We've also got a couple of big improvement projects we're going to see, and that changed things a little bit. So I'll talk a little more about the priorities here at the very end, but let's jump into the numbers a little bit. So looking at 22, we had revenues of $29.1 million in our general fund and expenditures of $28.2. So that was pretty close. We're about right on with those budgeted numbers. As we went into 23, the budget was $30,575,000. So as a note, we are required as staff, and I say it says the city manager, but this isn't the city manager's budget. We all work together to make this happen. It says we have to present a balanced budget. To get to that number last year, that 30.57, we had to cut about pretty close to $500,000 out of the request from the general fund. This year, a little more, but really this is, in regards to myself and the finance officer, this is a pretty flat budget because some of these things are built in that increase naturally. You don't see a lot of big changes in budgets other than this. So 31.424 is what we're bringing you in revenues and expenditures this year. In retrospect, to get to that 31.4 million, which is a big number, we had to cut over $1 million out of the budget to make this balance. So just putting that in a little bit of perspective, that this isn't, we put it together and it's all there and here we go. There's a lot of tough choices and we have to cut a lot of things in getting there. So that's the general fund. When we put it all together, this year, 2023, we're sitting at 84 million. 84.7 is what we were expecting in revenues and about the same in expenses. A lot of that was because we were doing some of the background planning for the wastewater improvement project that we know is going to be big. This year, that will kick in. We're also putting together, as we speak, Robin and his crew are working on numbers for the public works facility. Those are going to be big numbers, so we put some in early on, and that's going to bump our budget, proposed budget, up to just over $100 million. $100,092,305 to be exact. So that's when you put all of the utility funds, all of the things that go in there, and that's the budget we're working with. So big numbers with some big projects. Something that's not big is our debt level. We've been a very responsible city in looking at that. We've paid off some debt between 20 and 21, and you saw our existing debt numbers go down and the percentage go up. All the while, our constitutional debt limit has gone up because that's based on valuation of property within your jurisdiction, and we know what the property values are doing. So this year, we've got a constitutional debt limit of over 112 million. Our existing debt is just over 22 million. So we're at 19% of that. A couple of the big projects we're going to talk about will likely need to be financed, or at least partially, and we'll talk about that as we go along. So there's the numbers and where we're at debt-wise. Capital highlights, and again, we'll go through this project list pretty extensively next week at the work session, but our streets and bridge improvement projects, that's about 9.5 million. Most of that is projected. Some of that's building up some funds for some other projects. Patrol vehicle replacement in the police department, rolling out a new ambulance replacement program in the fire, two very critical incident vehicles needed for our public safety folks when folks call for help. Public Works, we have some equipment in there, the same types of things you see every year. Parks capital projects, again, that number is over $500,000 for a variety of improvement projects. Item number F under the capital expenses we just met on today. This is a number of $2 million for a water tower and transmission. I don't want you to get married to that number. That's a number that's been in here for a while. We're getting real close on moving that forward. Those numbers are not going to be near that friendly, and we're working on updating that one as the project goes on here in this process. Utility infrastructure, a variety of projects there of about $3 million. The wastewater plant expansion I mentioned, we'll bid that at the beginning of the year, and we'll see that start. So we're projecting $16 million. That'll be close to a $60 million project when finished. And then we put in the public works facility. It says to be determined. We'll bring you some numbers as we go along there. So in summation, what are the priorities of this budget? The first one's a couple of big significant capital facility projects, the wastewater plant expansion of the public works facilities. Those are the two big projects that we as a city need to be working on. Something that's a much smaller need but very critical in our housing growth is an updated housing study. We typically do those about every 5 years. And we need to do that. That's really important for developers when they're looking for housing funding and justifying it to their bankers of why we need more housing here, and I think we all know that's important. And then planning for future staffing needs. In our retreat in April, you'll recall I brought you all the department heads came up, and one of their biggest discussion points for each of them is, where do we need staff? Where are we falling behind? One of the things we found is we don't agree yet on what that is. And so one of the things that we want to do in advance of the 25 budget is get together as a staff and look at what are our really future needs. I think in particular, the needs of administration, finance, and HR have evolved, and can we find some efficiencies there? Our fire department is expanding. We talk about another station here in the future. We've got a lot of needs. We're a pretty lean staff, but we want to bring you a plan before we start asking for significant dollars in new positions. So that's, in summation, kind of the brief budget. Again, we'll have the budget work session next week at 5 o'clock, where we'll start to go through this, but we like to give you a little bit of time to revolve through this stuff. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of numbers. If you've got any questions in advance, feel free to reach out to me and we'll be prepared. But on behalf of the staff, we present you this budget.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that, and all the paperwork. We'll pour over that as the week rolls on, and be excited for this upcoming work session next week. Move along to our second item of new business, which is a public hearing and possible approval of the transfer of retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine licenses. As you can see, it's a group of 4 of them, but they're all into the same ownership group, so that is why they were paired together. We've got D&G Investments, DBA Royale Casino, which is at 202 6th Avenue Southeast, GPM Enterprise, 202 6th Avenue Southeast, Suite B, both going to DBA Royal Casino and Four Aces Casino. And then we've got D&G Investments, DBA Grand Casino, transferring to Grand Casino LLC, or excuse me, Aberdeen Grand Casino LLC, and GPM finally, DBA Deuces Wild, switching over to DBA Deuces Wild Casino, Grand Casino Aberdeen LLC, all as a result of ownership changes of these 2 particular establishments. So that was quite a mouthful. Sorry for that, guys. I would take a motion. If that no one is here to speak on behalf of any of those transfers, I would take a motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Anything from the council before we take our vote on that? All right, then, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion on all 4 carries. We'll move along to our possible approval of surplusing lost and abandoned bicycles to the Lions Club of Aberdeen. And here to tell us about that organization and the effort is Chief McNeil. Police Chief McNeil, thank you for joining us tonight. What can you tell us about that surplus?
Yes, good evening. For your consideration, we're asking for the possible approval of allowing us to surplus a quantity of abandoned and lost bicycles that we've taken over the course of a year. We bring these bikes to our impound. If we're not able to find the owner, ultimately they go to a surplus sale. In this particular situation, the Lions Club has started a program that's going to rehabilitate and fix bicycles. And they like some of these bicycles that I'm asking to surplus tonight so that they can rehab these and then get these out to the community, to the people that would need them. And that wouldn't cost anybody, anything for the bicycle ultimately that they would turn over to them.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilwoman Langer. Any questions from the council of our police chief on this effort? Thanks for bringing it to our attention and making this happen, Chief. I think it's well worth the effort. Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you for joining us tonight. Next, we've got our possible approval to purchase a Red Wave Threat ID hazardous materials spectrometer from Safe World, which totals $75,496.63. And here to tell us about that is Fire Chief Weig. Fire Chief, welcome. What can you tell us about this spectrometer?
Sure. The spectrometer, it's to replace our ASCAT chemical detection equipment that we've had for numerous years. And this spectrometer will allow us to take samples of unknown air, gases, liquids, or solids and identify them. So if there's a hazardous situation, we can mitigate that much more quickly. Otherwise, if we were to continue with our HazCat kit, which has become antiquated, it's like a big chemistry set, and it takes minutes, if not up to hours plus, to identify a particular sample. So this will save time in a hazardous situation, and it'll also put us in line with the other South Dakota Task Force 1 teams and their equipment. So if we get called to a major event in South Dakota, we'll be able to analyze equipment along right with them.
I'll move to approve it.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilwoman Leibelt. Chief, could you tell us about how often you're using your existing kit? Does it come out of the closet much?
Sure. The existing kit probably comes out of the kit probably a dozen times a year, depending on any spill that we may go to, or if we get called to a suspicious odor in a building that we are unable to detect with the current monitors. We'll take colorimetric tubes and take an air sample, and it's just a guessing game because you have to go through the color tubes and try to find out what it is. So it's time consuming, but yeah, probably a dozen times a year.
Thanks, Chief. Any other questions from the council or Fire Chief?
I would have.
Go ahead,
I
Councilman.
presume this is within your budget, Chief?
Correct. This was budgeted for in 2023,
I
and
thought too.
it's within budget. Yep.
Great.
All right, then. Jordan, since this is a financial obligation that we're approving here, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thank you for joining us, Chief. Appreciate the work that you're doing over there. Next, we've got our approval of payment title number 1 in the amount of $378,057.07, which is paid to Wright and Sudlow for work on the Milwaukee Avenue pavement rehab project. City Engineer Robin Bobzien will tell us a little bit about how that project is going.
Okay, as the mayor said, this is pay request number 1. The project has been going for a while. They've done the demolition. Actually, the vast majority of the paving is complete. They will finish the last pour tomorrow. We hope to get the pavement sealing crew in within a week and have it open maybe as early as Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime next week. So we're moving in the right direction. It's been a kind of it's tough when you've got Dakota Street and this one going at the same time. It's timing is everything, and it was poor in our case on this one, and we'll readily admit it, but we're kind of at the mercy of when the contractors can get to it, and we couldn't tell one contractor to hold off so that we could get the other stuff done. So otherwise our prices would have been significantly different than what we're paying right now. So it has been an inconvenience to the public, but we do request the payment to Wright and Sudlow in the amount of $378,057.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilwoman Foberg. Any questions for City Engineer on this one? All right, then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Moving along, we'll hit up our next item, which is the recommendation to award a bid for high-pressure hydraulic sewer cleaner to Flexible Pipe Tool in the amount of $270,000 even. Robin, is that yours?
This is mine. So the piece of equipment we have here, it's called the Myers. It's the unit that clears all the blockages and does the annual maintenance on all of our sanitary sewer collection system. without it, we are in deep trouble if something does happen within the system. It's got to be a reliable piece of equipment that can't be down basically any time during the year. The old one is getting up there in years. As you can see, they're offering a total of $20,000 for a unit that probably cost well over $200,000 when we bought it 6, 7, 8 years ago. This is a valuable piece of equipment that we use virtually every day, all during the construction season, so to speak, April through November into December, and then for emergencies after that. So we recommend the approval of the award to Flexible Pipe Tool in the amount of $270,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Anything from the council on this tool?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
question about if it's so essential and we use it every day, might we just keep the backup one instead of turning it in for 20 grand?
The backup plan that we do have is we do have a Vector which can do similar type things, but we use that in the storm sewer system. So we do have kind of a backup plan.
Okay.
So probably 3 pieces of equipment for this would be more redundancy than we need.
One more question
Go ahead.
about flushable wipes, which I think we had a conversation about at one point in time. Have we ever talked about working with businesses in town, put up signs that say, you know, the city prefers you not use these, or something of that nature? I've seen that in other towns, and I know that's a big cost when we're looking at these kinds of items.
Yeah, and actually, we are going to be sending out some letters to certain neighborhoods where we are having more issues. The conversation we've had with a couple of the retailers have basically not gone the way we would like, where they're not going to turn down sales of something, even though they're not recommended. The term flushable, just because you can flush them doesn't mean it's a good thing, but we probably should do some media blitzes to try to do more with this. We did a few years ago, and we probably need to do it again.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the council before we take a vote on purchasing this tool? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got a recommendation to award a bid for a new booster station pumps and motors to Dakota Pump LLC, which totals $209,400. Robin, what can you tell us about that bid?
Okay, so this particular one is related to our ability to fill our towers quickly. We have ground storage of 8 million gallons right now and elevated storage of 2.5 million. When we have a fire, things of that nature, or what we're finding right now, even irrigation during the summer, the towers start to go down quickly and we can't fill them as fast as we need to, or as we'd like to, I should put it that way. And so this is something that came out of some modeling we did for our water treatment, or our water distribution system earlier in the year, and their recommendation was we either needed to add more elevated storage or add more pumping, and we're looking at both. Of course, we're talking about the elevated storage out on the east side of town, and we are also, this is a combination thing where we can do this and add some additional safeguards should we have a major fire, or in case the community starts to grow. We want to grow, so we want to do this as a proactive measure to make things be ahead of the curve. So we recommend approval of the pumps to Dakota Pump LLC out of Mitchell in the amount of $209,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Any questions for City Engineer Bobzien as it relates to this pump project? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reif.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the recommendation to award a bid for 2,300 tons of de-icing salt to Blackstrap Incorporated, which totals $212,589. And I believe this is City Engineer Robin Bobzien's last item of the night. And boy, what a bunch of money we've spent over there.
This is obviously a necessary part of our snow program during the winter. Little history lesson, I believe when I first started here a few years ago, we were using around 1,000 tons of salt a year. And so you can see that the demand and the need has gone up significantly. We used to run 2 trucks for salt, now we're running 3. It's something that is really important for our program to keep streets safe. So this is a little bit higher than last year. We were in the, I believe we were $89 a ton last year, so we're up a few dollars a ton this year. Ours is a little more expensive because we do not have the amount of storage that the contractor can bring, or the supplier can bring materials in kind of at their leisure. So they have to stockpile material at their location so that they're more ready to bring it in at the time when we need it, and we can go through it in a hurry, you know, through a couple snows. And then of course, the whole region needs salt at the same time. So ours is a little higher because we demand it to be brought in more quickly because we don't have the storage. And that will be addressed in that new public works facility when that gets built. We request approval of the bid of approximately 2,300 ton of salt at $92.43 a ton.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Any questions for Robin on this item? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that purchase, please?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Reif.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the confirmation of appointment of Carl Alberts to the Aberdeen Housing Authority Board for a 5-year term. I trust all of you know Carl, but for the newer members of the council, Carl used to be Jordan before Jordan was Jordan, and we all liked him pretty well, and I think he'll do a great job on this Housing Authority Board.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
The motion, Councilman Johnson, second, Councilman Norvstrup. Any concern or questions as it relates to this appointment? All right, then, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. We'll move along to our possible approval of payments for work on the airport improvement projects and authorize city manager to sign those pay requests in the absence of Transportation Director Rich Krokel. Joe Gaa, city manager, will walk us through these 4 prospective payments. Payments title number 318, 2A, and 5, respectively. Joe, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Robin was spending a little bit of money. The airport wants to spend a lot of money, so I think we'll win that. So I'm excited to get to present this. In summation, there's 2 projects going on: a GA apron reconstruction project, and then rehab and lighting improvements on one of the major runways. Both very good projects, both mostly funded from FAA funding, both running a little behind schedule as we go along, but we suspect we'll start seeing that move along. So you have a payment for each project for construction and a payment for each project for engineering, and staff recommends approval.
Move to approve all 4 payments.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Ronayne. Does anyone on the council have any questions for any of these payments or the projects as it relates to these payments? Hearing nothing, I will kick it over to Jordan for a roll call vote. Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reif.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. We'll move along to our review and approval of claims and payroll. We have the bills list, which was attached to this document which is for this week, of course, August 7th, as well as the payroll, which pays the employees of the city from the period of July 30th through August 12th. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Any discussion to be had on any of these items before we take a roll call vote on the matter? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. See, there's a couple of Boy Scouts in the crowd. If you guys want to take a picture with us by chance, if that would do anything for you, maybe stick around afterwards. I'm not entirely sure how long Joe is intending to speak to us here at the city manager's report, so I thought I would get that out. I'd like a picture, even if you don't want one. How about it? Next item is our city manager's report. Joe, what have you got tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we'll keep it short and positive. I want to stick up for Robin a little bit. We talk about the Dakota project and the Milwaukee Avenue project going on at the same time. He's really a good engineer and he's a good planner. That wasn't his staff's plan. If you drove that road over last winter, you might have told him it was really bad and he needed to change his plan. And he listened. That road was just really falling apart. And he had planned some other smaller concrete projects and pulled his budgets together and did this as a reaction. So it's a little bit of an inconvenience we didn't plan for this summer, but imagine if we would have left it alone, how bad it would be. So Robin and his staff really kind of did an about face on that and changed that. So they're getting some grief right now, but really they did a good deal there. Also, sometimes, we want to hear critics, but here, the other day I got a little letter in the mail and it was addressed to the city council. So I'm going to read it to you. To the Aberdeen City Council, my family and I would like to thank you for providing such a wonderful facility at your swim complex. We attended the state swim meet the weekend of July 21st through the 23rd. The facility is one of the most beautiful pools we've ever been to. It is very obvious that the employees of the complex are very proud of it, as it is so well kept. The citizens of Aberdeen have much to be proud of in this wonderful facility. We look forward to our next visit. Respectfully, Deborah Carpin from Jefferson, South Dakota. So that was nice to hear. And I was excited to hear the mayor mention the Boy Scouts. I looked out and saw those uniforms as well and have fond memories of my youth. So I'm going to quit talking so they can take a picture with the mayor.
One more thing before we let us go. If you would be so kind as to apprise people as it relates to the situation with our water treatment plant, in particular the letter that went out to residents is certainly something that has caused a lot of head scratching and a lot of concern. So, Joe, as you're aware, several weeks ago a letter went out from the city talking about a test that the readings were particularly high.
You just blew up my totally positive city manager's report.
Well, if you keep this positive.
That's okay. That's right. And we've talked about this before. We haven't had many questions lately. I think it's kind of went through. But again, we have requirements that are safety requirements, and we have to report things that may or may not be horribly unsafe, but there's something that we need to be transparent about. We had a turbidity level. Quite frankly, turbidity is a real issue out there through the summer due to our water source. It really relates back to where our water comes from, so changing that in the future is really critical. But we stand by that it was caught quickly, repairs were made, and just really overall, I was out there a little bit this afternoon. I'm really proud of the water department staff. Our plant, I don't think, was maintained real well going into the summer. It's done really well. They've fixed a lot of things. We're spending a fair amount of money, but I'd say the plant is operating now better than it was 3 months ago, and I feel real positive with the staff in doing that.
And in terms of the safety of the drinking water that's coming out of the faucet currently in Aberdeen?
Right. We did not. We had one test reading that was high. Those readings come every 15 minutes. So really it wasn't a long-term safety issue, but we're required to submit those letters in transparency, and we're making clean, safe water.
Thank you, Joe. And if there's nothing else from the council, I would take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Ronayne, second, Councilman Reinbold. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.